I am Miranda. I am Dr. Miranda, Prop Doc Mom on all the socials, on TikTok, Instagram, and on Facebook. I am a property investor and a property podcaster, the co-founder of Property Magicians podcast, and I am a coach on the Kumo Property Investing Academy. I am a doctor by day. I work as a medical manager now, and I am Neo's mom. And welcome to our free webinar. Sli udumengan.
Sanbonani, igama lami uSlindile. I am Mdumengani. It threw me off. Okay, so I am a mom as well, a mom of 3, I'm a wife, and I'm a financial services professional. And I'm also a property investor, so I use various strategies to invest in property. I do multi-lets, Airbnb, student accommodation, and I'm also the chairperson of Sakisizo Property Stockfile. And I'm also one of the coaches on the Kumo Academy, which is why you guys are here. And yeah, I think I really speak to all things investing, and that is what I'm passionate about. I've done various property deals, structuring them in various ways, investing with various individuals using various strategies. And so I come from that background, and I share my knowledge so that a lot of other people can get into can really benefit from the wealth creation benefits of property. So that is me.
Oh.
We started having these real conversations because we were a circle of property investors, right? And we would meet at each other's houses and talk about property. What are you up to? What are you doing? What do you need help with? And really just share the knowledge, because we were creating this community because there's so few of us, especially, Black people in the space. And it was a closed network that was not accessible to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So we then realized, myself and Miranda, that, like the conversations that we have at these circles, it needs to be brought to a bigger audience, and so that more people can benefit from us, because we can't continue to gatekeep certain information, right? Because so many people can actually benefit from that. So last year we had 2 of them where we had these real conversations. One was online and one was in person at Naledi Farm last year. So it really is just about how do we get more people into investing, and especially in property, and specifically property, because, some of these other strategies, it's very difficult to get in if, you don't have a lot of money, you don't come from money. So, and you also need a lot of money to invest in it. Whereas with property, it is possible to really start where you are with what you have. And it is easy for you to be able to build significant wealth fairly quickly, if you know what to do. And so that is why this information is important, because a lot of the information that is out in the public is not designed to create wealth for us.
No.
It is designed to make us to be consumers, and not creators. Everything that we use, we don't own. We buy the products, we don't own the shares. We go to certain shopping malls, we go to work, we don't own anything in those office parks, in those malls. We are just consumers. And so when we are sold certain products, or they're designed for, to create the impression of wealth, but is it really? You are given a private wealth banking package. With what wealth? And our parents were sold funeral covers so that they could leave something for their kids.
Sure.
That is what you are promoting to our people.
Yeah.
And so that is why this conversation is important, because nobody's having these kinds of conversations. And even in the other networks that we belong to as investors, if you go there, you come in and you go out and you're even more confused, because they're not talking in the language that you understand. They're not talking from the lived experiences of a Black person.
Yeah.
Mina Miranda's phuma emalokishini, mina even emakhaya. Where we literally drank in the same river as cows. That is my background. So when you go into these networks, you get imposter syndrome. You're even afraid to ask questions because you think they're going to laugh at you or they're going to think you're stupid. So it is very important that we have these conversations and we bring them to our people because we've been fortunate to have been exposed. And therefore, through our exposure, we then bring it out for you guys to be able to benefit.
Absolutely.
So tell me, Ke, why did you start these real conversations?
Panic is what got me here. Panic is what got me here, guys. When you start working, you can imagine, I used to tell Sli and some of our friends that we would have these Sunday lunches with, that, when you become a doctor, it is such a blessing and a curse at the same time, right? So it is assumed, it is instantly assumed that you are going to be wealthy. And your salary from day one is going to make you wealthy. So on Sunday afternoons, once a month, we would meet up because, we are trying to solve property issues and property problems with each other and with our friends. And what I remember telling them is that when you become a doctor, it is both a blessing and a curse because our communities think you become a doctor, instantly you are going to become wealthy. It is just destined that way. And then our disappointment is when I got to 15 years later, I am having a child and I look at my savings and I look at the distance from where I'm at to retirement and it's looking scary. That's how this conversation started. And I don't remember anyone, I do not remember anyone, Sli, ever telling me how to invest. And I remember being sold every product there is on earth, Blue Bank, Green Bank, throwing Achiever Plan, check account, black card, platinum card. No one spoke to me about investing. And while I was having that conversation with Sli, she's like, no, I didn't know they target you. I'm an accountant, they do the same, right? And everyone who sells anything, shiny stuff, Audi was at our door, VW was at our door, BMW, and like, no, you are a young black doctor, you need to be driving this. And that's all we are sold in the market. Hence, we came to these conversations. And the real conversation is when you do not come from money, somebody needs to teach you how to invest. Somebody needs to talk to you about how to do it the right way and not to use jargon. That was my third reason. I'm speaking to Sli, who's an accountant, and I'm like, Sli, when you speak to a doctor about ROI, rate of return on interest, or net return on interest, or it is English that goes above our heads. Believe it or not, at medical school we didn't do it. And no one is willing to acknowledge and accept that actually no one teaches you that English and no one teaches you how to calculate it. I owned a practice, I have opened several businesses, but it is something that no one ever teaches you really and sits you down. So we decided, let's just have these conversations. Let's have investing talk in a language that our people can hear. I often joke about it on our podcast that I am going to analyze the property investing language. By the time I am done with Mutlali Bula, another girl who comes from where I come from, you are going to be able to tell how to invest in property. I'll break it down to you in Setswana so that you hear it. That's how I got in here.
Okay,
So,
no, that is amazing, Miranda, and I think it's so important what you've just said about even in school, right? Those were the careers that were prioritized: lawyer, doctor, accountant, whatever the case might be, because then that is what we are made to believe is going to create this wealth. But the reality is, being a high income earner does not equal to wealth.
no, it doesn't.
these two things are not the same.
Yeah.
You can actually find a person who earns very little money but is very wealthy.
Absolutely.
And that is where we get it wrong. We think because you're a high earner and we think because you've got a lot of money, you know how to manage it.
Yeah.
And I think we've also seen how on these shows, Double I Blew It and whatever the case might be, that having access to money does not necessarily mean you're wealthy, because in some instances you get this money, but if you don't know how to keep it and grow it, it disappears. So it's the same. Even if you're a high income earner, you're still gonna misuse the money, you know? And so with our background in mind, then getting into property, you know, getting into working in the banks, having gone to varsity, being a doctor, all of those things, then why property? What was the light bulb? What was the light bulb moment for you that said, no, yes, I'm a doctor and people think I've arrived, but this is not it?
The arrival English. So let me tell you why property, Sli. The reality of it is I still needed to continue to earn, right? But I also realized that there are only a limited number of hours in a day. And now I have attended a seminar or two. I have gotten myself my first mentor to mentor me into property investing. And someone spoke about English of passive investing. I was like, well, that's what I need, right? I need to be at work during the day. Can this business run itself while I'm at work? Does this business require my time? And it was, sometimes it may, a little bit, but if you've got the right structures, you might find yourself a property manager that will run the process. The second thing was, with my payslip, that's where I'm going to start, because as opposed to another person, I have got a little bit more room, a little bit of more cream that I could save. And when I realized that savings accounts, your 30-day, 32-day accounts, those things don't work, right? They grow very slowly. 3, Nero had come. I had a baby at 40, Sli. What does that mean? When you have a baby at 40, it means your child goes to school at the time when you are trying to build towards your retirement. And my last thing is, I still want to drink a cappuccino when I am 65 and my joints are creaking. I want to have the international flights, and I still want to have the holidays that I have while I'm working. That's why property, because properties, in a certain way, when you've got the right property, it can give you a holiday once, thrice, 4 times, 12 times if you like. Oops. I'm not sure what that is.
Okay, continue.
Anyhow, so that's why property made sense to me, that I could go to work and I could still earn. I could even multiply and 10x the salary that I earn, and that's why I decided maybe we shall do property. Why did you get in? How did you get in?
Okay.
Was it intentional?
I don't. Yeah, okay. So for me, into a property started at home, whereby the typical setup, yokuba nama room. So at home we had backrooms, and what happened was that my mom passed away, and so what she used to do is that she built these rooms, right? And then obviously at the time they would obviously help out with additional income, whatever. But I don't think I really had an appreciation for it, really, because you know when you're a child, you always think your parents have got lots of money. Like when I paid, they don't understand that, you know, money, you need to work and it's limited, right? So I never really got it when she was still around, because I never felt the need to there should be extra money. But when she passed away, my mom being a teacher and all of that, you know what happens once the death certificate is out. The money stops immediately, and it takes quite some time to wrap up a person who's passed on estate. And so in the meantime, we've got to survive. How do we then survive when the person you know, actually
The breadwinner is gone.
the breadwinner's gone. And
There's
that is
no
how
bread.
then, you know, we started into the property thing. Then she was like, okay, these rooms are there. They can help us to survive as a family. So that income, so that for me was the light bulb that said, oh, okay, so this property thing, room, you can actually be able to still make income even if you're not there, that can take care of your family. So that is how for me it started. And how it then started for me specifically was when I started working, I rented for just 1 year. And then after renting, I then said, nope, I'm not going to rent anymore. And at the age of 23, I bought my very first property. And it was a 2-bedroom. And in that 2-bedroom, then interest rates started, you know, going up, and I was struggling to keep up with the repayments. And I thought to myself, here's a room, why am I not renting out this room to someone else? And that's exactly what I did. And that was my first time getting into property investing. And after that, yeah, that's when I got intentional about buying properties, and I've really seen how it's enabled a lifestyle that my salary alone could have never been able to. Having 3 children, we all know how expensive having children are, you know, and for me, that's really that seed that was planted by my mom of, you know, you need to do something for your children so that even when you're not here, they're still able to survive. And it's not just when you're gone, but even while you're still alive, you need to benefit from that.
Oh, okay. I love that. I love that. It just triggered me that my mom has got back rooms, right, in Orlando East in Soweto. And it has not, it has not, it had not occurred to me that we are earning extra income. My mom was a single mom. She's a nursing sister. She works by day, but we consistently had tenants at our 2 rooms in Orlando. And at the end of the month, Mama would divide up the rent money into envelopes, and we would go and rent. I would go and deposit money for my sister who was at university at the time, go past Black Chain and do groceries, and then she would say, every week, this is your envelope for buying the bus coupon for going to school. So even when I did not have lunch money, I still could understand then that there is value in having the tenants. So we never had, those 2 rooms never stood without a tenant in all my high school life. And even currently, she still earns from those 2 rooms. So property, right? Didn't think of it that way.
That's very true, that we overlook some of these things because, you know, my mom, your mom, they were investors, right? But with limited knowledge, they achieved what they were able to achieve. Now, can you imagine if they had access to the knowledge, the tools, and the resources that we have at our disposal? Where would they have been? And that is where a lot of us are, right? You are stuck because you just don't have the knowledge to take you to the next level, to just not be a backroom entrepreneur, investor. You know, how do you scale? How do you get bigger and better properties? And so the reason why we're having this session today is to talk about how to set goals and what you need to put in place to be able to achieve those goals, right? And really, there's a formula. There's a formula. There's a blueprint that you can follow to achieve your goals, and that is what we're going to be covering today, because everything starts with planning. Everything starts with planning, and it starts with intentionality. Like, you need to be intentional. You can't just say, you know, I'll invest in property. One day it's going to happen. I want to, I wish to. You need to have a plan, and you need to have a strategy of how you are going to implement that plan, right? So that is what we're going to be talking about, to say, what are those things that you need to have in order to be able to invest in property, right? So let's talk about the big why. Why is having a why important?
So because not all properties are going to cash flowsly, right? That's your big why. Number 2,
Let's explain what is cash flow.
Cash flow. right? So the 2-room and garage in the township, right? You have built it. And there is tenant 1 in room 1, tenant 2 in room 2, and there is the next door neighbor that doesn't have a garage that rents in your garage, right? And all those people are paying you 500 rands. You have got 1,500 rands that you did not have to work for. You didn't have to fuguza for, right? There's very little effort. All you did was build. And the next thing, you have got extra income of 1,500. I'm just using a very little sum. Backrooms are more expensive than that now, all right? So that's cash flow. Not all properties are going to cash flow. So most people get into property like I did, my big mistake. My first property that I ever bought was a two-bedroomed, beautiful apartment in Montana, in Pretoria. It's beautiful. That was the first thing. It's in a clean area, second thing. And there was a tenant, third thing. Those things are ticked, right? But it did not cash flow, guys. It did not cash flow. The rental was something like 6,500, and the bond was beyond that, and I had to pay water and electricity. I had to pay homeowners association. So what the mistake is I bought a property, which is great. We say it is a great investment, absolutely, but it wasn't cash flowing. That meant now I have this apartment, which now I also have to finance out of my own salary. So it's not cash flowing. Bad business. You get out of that business. Okay.
So why is it important to start with why? If anything in life that is worth doing is going to be challenging. There's nothing in life that is easy. So if you don't have a strong why you are doing it, then it's going to be easy to get discouraged. And so if you are going to set your goals, start with why. Why do I want to do this? Why is having an extra income important for me?
Yeah.
Why is being able to leave something for my children important for me, right? So, and if you are honest with yourself and true to yourself, I think I've already alluded to my reasons for my why, right? Them being the fact that I've got 3 children, which means that I need to be able to provide for them. So the second reason being, if for whatever reason I'm no longer around, who will take care of them? What will take care of them? Because my salary will come to an end. My employer will send a vacancy note, they'll send flowers and maybe some donations and whatever, and that will be pretty much it. Then my children must still grow. My youngest is 4. So they have a long way to go before they're independent. So if I'm unable to use the income that I've got to create assets that will provide for them when I'm unable physically to do so, then I would have failed my children. That is my why.
Okay.
And my why is not going to be your why. Maybe all you need is just to be able to have additional income, to maybe, live in a better neighborhood, maybe take your children to a better school. Maybe it's to get out of a bad situation. If you are in a relationship out of pure necessity, right? And if you had access to cash, you wouldn't be there. So our whys are going to be different. So you need to then be clear on, before you even start setting your goals, what is my why? Because that is also going to determine the level of effort you need to put in.
Yeah.
Because as Miranda was saying, that if you just want 1,500, it doesn't take much to be able. It doesn't. So you're aiming very low, and your effort is going to be low. You are going to go to Property 24 tomorrow. You're going to find a property. You're going to sign an offer to purchase, and then you are done. Your why is low. It's low intensity, low effort. Yay, you are in the game. However, if you want to build wealth that is going to sustain you comfortably, your children comfortably, and your grandchildren comfortably, and you're doing it in your lifetime, then your level of effort is going to be different. What you need to do is going to have to be different. So that is why you need to be clear on why are you doing this. Is it just for an extra 2,000? Is it just for an extra 200,000? Or is it to create a multi-generational wealth?
Yeah.
That is why you need to start with why.
Yeah. So ladies and gents, what is critically important about this is that there's a blueprint in property investing. You don't somewhere start. You don't do what I did. So you're lucky that I'm talking about it openly and telling you, don't do it like I did it. Nice property in Montana, somebody says it was gaining equity, not at my expense. You can gain equity another time, and you can gain equity at a bit when you have wealth. When you do not have cash flow and you are still scraping at the bottom of the barrel, you don't start by building equity. Maybe that's the other thing. People who build equity are people like the ones that own the property we are sitting in. We are sitting in an office park, a shared office park, and yeah, those people are sitting pretty somewhere. They can afford that because they have gotten there. But for a black child, we start from zero. We start from, I need to accumulate lots of money, and then I can buy properties that I have the luxury of waiting for equity, and we will explain what equity is. Right now, if you bought a house for 500,000 and you've been paying the bond for the past 10 years, that's great. Today, that property probably could sell at about 750,000. The 250,000 it has gained is called equity. Yeah, and this is why when you go to these seminars and they talk English of equity, look at your pocket, and when you look, you see how you goal set for, no, I'm not in the ambit of equity now. My child is in private school. I want 2 international holidays. I want to drink cappuccino once a week, and I want to go on local holidays. Okay, so how do I build the 100,000 for the school fees and everything that I have just put in? There are properties that are like that, and that's what our mentorship is about.
And I think I also want to add to this equity conversation, because it's a misconception that a lot of us, it's a trap that a lot of us fall into, especially when we are still starting out in property investing. Hence, at the beginning, we did mention that when you attend these seminars, usually they have a particular agenda or something that they want to sell. And if you don't have the right information, it's easy for you to fall for the trap. And here's why. As a beginner investor, as Miranda was saying, yes, you can do it when your portfolio is large enough to be able to absorb those properties that don't cash flow. But as a beginner, if anything happens to you and you lose your job, for instance, and you are unable to service a bond that is now costing you an extra 1,000, 2,000 rand out of your pocket every month, what is going to happen to that property? When you're now worried about a roof over your head, and now you have to think about an investment property which somebody else is staying in, and you need to pay an extra 2,000 rand to service that bond, you are going to stop paying that bond and you're going to lose your investment. Equity means, in that instance, for you as a beginner investor. So that is why it's important to understand not only your why, but where are you in your investment journey. Don't run before you can even sit. First, sit. Babies, they sit, then they start crawling, then they start holding on to things. So where are you in your journey? Because not all strategies are relevant for where you are. Equity can work for other investors, but does it work for you? So that is why you need to make sure that you choose the strategy that's relevant for you. You need to map up your investment journey to say, I am Sli. At the moment, I'm unemployed, but what do I have? What do I have at my disposal? Or maybe I've got bad credit. What do I have at my disposal? Maybe I've got a job, I've got a pay slip, which is pure gold when you're creating wealth. Yeah. What can I do with my pay slip to create wealth? So now you've got your why, now you've got your tools, now you do an assessment, a physical assessment of, this is what I have, this is who I am, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm bad at. Be honest with yourself. Yeah. What do I have access to? And then you start plotting out, okay, based on my situation, this is the journey I need to be on. And these are the timelines within which I need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Step 1, so step 2, step 3, step 4. But because the information is sporadic, it's all over the place, you don't even know what the first step should be. You just know, I want to buy a property. Which one? What are you going to do with it?
Sli, can I disturb you? There is something that Sli does and it triggers a lot of people. She goes, yo, payslip. Payslip is gold. You're going to have to unpack payslip is gold. You and I now know why payslip is gold, but I want you to unpack it for someone who heard you on TikTok talk about how awesome it is. It makes us skip up and down. I mean, I still receive a payslip today and I'm grateful for it because it's my gold. You have no idea. I want you to just stop for a little bit about the goal setting. Let's just go to the payslip specifically for 2 minutes.
Okay. So okay. So if you are in a job, you are in the minority in this country.
Yeah.
You are very blessed. You are very privileged. So a job, yes, is supposed to take care of our primary needs. We need to eat, we need to have a roof over our heads, etc., etc. That is important. But you also have to start thinking about, if you've got children, to create wealth for them. And also not only that, to think of your retirement. Because here's the thing, we sold as black professionals the illusion of wealth. The illusion of wealth being having a nice car, having a nice house, having a private wealth card. That is what we are sold as wealth. Our parents, they were sold funeral covers because they thought if they're funeral cover, then at least they'll leave something for their children. But we have a payslip, which is something that a lot of people don't have. Even if you don't have a payslip and you're self-employed, you still have regular income, which you can show to a bank or to a funder, and they can then be able to grant you access to credit. And now obviously when you talk about credit, people get hives because they're thinking, you ikoloto. We are using credit incorrectly. That is why we are afraid of debt. We are using debt, we're taking up debt that is to sustain the lifestyle that now we've gotten ourselves entrapped with. Whereas if you are using the payslip and the access to credit, so through access to credit is what you get via maintaining the credit that you are given, and therefore you have a good credit score. Those two things are going to set you up for wealth because you are able to get the banks to give you money to buy good properties that you then place tenants in, and they pay for those properties. So it's like essentially two random strangers helping to create wealth for yourself. And all you need to do is just say, okay, I've got the payslip. You don't need to pay the loan. You just need to say, if I need to, I'll step in, but you're not paying it because your tenant is paying for it. So that's the thing. That is what your payslip does. It's just like, in case I'm here, but you're not paying it, guys. That's what a lot of people miss. You are not paying for that loan. And therefore, if you are then able to get one property, get two, get three, and here's the thing as well, if you are using the correct structures. If you're using the correct structures, let's say, for example, you go and you do a qualification assessment and the bank say you qualify for R1 million. If you use the correct structures, that R1 million can give you 5 to 10 million rand worth of credit that you can get to be able to build your property portfolio. Yeah. And so that is why when you are on your goal setting, you need to say, okay, step 1, I've got my why, I know what I need to do. Step 2, what do I have at my disposal? I've got a payslip. I've got a good credit record. Okay, I don't have a payslip, but then what can I do? Oh, I've got bad credit. What can I do? You do that assessment. The next step is now, okay, now I've done a physical assessment of what I have. What do I need to do? What strategy do I need to because there are many strategies in property and not all of them are for you. So which strategy is right for me? How do I find the right properties that are going to help me to reach the goal that I've set for my big why, to achieve my big why? So you understand that it's a journey, this thing. And now once you've got those properties, now you say, how do I grow and look after them so that you achieve the goal that you set in the beginning?
So let's talk about the goal setting. Goal setting has got a framework. It's not just goal setting. Namya ifuni property. That's not how it is done. Okay. And e-property means what? We've just told you about ama rooms, Lindile. We've told you about backrooms at my mom's house. And then I've just told you about a property that I bought, an apartment, and someone is asking about Airbnb. So all of those things are strategies. Né? They are strategies of investment. The apartment that was in Montana, where it could be growing in equity, and actually it was a disappointment. There isn't much equity in those areas. So it is a strategy. I can accumulate 2-bedroom units all over town, in Northcliffe, in whatever, and yes, and wait for equity for 10 years. You can do that. Do I have the luxury? I just told you no. I need money today for private school, for the car, for the holiday, for buying the next property and the next property, right? So there are different strategies in investing. So when we come to goal setting, we goal set for how much money do I want to come out of a certain property, or my next invested money, how much must come. I can plan even before I buy a property to say, I want a property that's cash flowing 10,000. That's it, 10,000 and above. Otherwise, I'm not buying, and there's a way of doing that.
I think the thing is, we cover a lot of these topics in our mentorship program because, sometimes people just get worried about things that haven't even occurred. Like, you don't even have a property and you're already worried about eviction. Just get in the game. Like, and sometimes we almost self-sabotage because you worry about all the things that can go wrong, and therefore you just don't take any action, right? So the thing is, get the right knowledge, have the right network, invest in a mentorship program, and therefore all these things will be taken care of, because people invest in properties all the time. And eviction or non-paying tenants is part of the game. It happens. You've got you plan for it, you resolve it, and you move on, right? And so just in terms of touching on the goals, right? So we need to be. I think we all know what SMART goals are, right? In the sense that they need to be specific, measurable, etc., etc. But in the property instance, when we say that it needs to be specific, you can't just say, I want a property. What kind of a property? Where is it? How much cash do I want to make from that property? So you need to be very clear what you're looking for. And Miranda always jokes when I use the example of dating to say, you can't just say, I want ngifuna indoda. Enjani? What kind of person are you looking for? Because if you're not clear on what you're looking for, you're like, yes, no. You need to know, I'm looking for, he must have at least a post-matric qualification, he must be tall, dark and handsome, he must be kind, he must live in Sandton. Whatever your criteria is, the same thing applies in property, because otherwise you can go tomorrow and then it doesn't work. No, you need to be clear on what you're looking for so that when you find that one, you're like, yes, I marry you tomorrow. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you need to be very specific. And the M in the measurement is that it needs to be measurable. You need to know, okay, how am I going to make money from this property? How much? And you need to be able to have the tools to be able to measure this property is going to achieve this goal. So those who are speaking about equity, indeed, you can measure the equity from a property straight off the bat when you acquire it. How much is this property going to give me? And don't say that it's going to give me equity in 10 years or 20 years. When you buy the property, you need to know how much equity is it giving me now, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. So when you buy, you need to know, okay, if you're saying when you are a capital investor, you are looking at equity, then from the get-go, you need to have specific criteria of what then, in terms of equity, am I looking for? Sure. Because if you're not clear on what equity you're looking for, any random property, an agent is going to tell you, oh, equity, capital appreciation, and you're going to buy that story. You need to know how to measure what you are looking for. If you're looking for equity, then know how to measure it. If you're looking for cash flow, know how to measure it, right? And then also the achievable part in the A, right? So achievable means that, as I've been saying, as we've been talking about, how you need to know your situation and what you can achieve. If, for example, you're buying property in your name and the bank says you qualify for R1,000,000, that's all you're going to be able to achieve. But if you're saying, no, Mina, I'm going to do these things differently, I'm going to set up structures, my R1,000,000 that I qualify for is going to give me 10 million rands worth of property. That is what becomes achievable for you at that point. But if you say, you know what, I don't want to do this on my own, I want to bring other people because 10 million is mncane, then you start making the circle bigger and thinking differently about what is achievable once you know where you're at, right? Mm-hmm. And then realistic and time-bound, again, anything that you don't measure, you're not going to know. What are we looking at? Are you looking at 20 years, 10 years, 5 years? How much time have you got? Miranda has mentioned how she had her child at 40. So she knew that this child is going to be, hitting the teenage years as she's approaching retirement. So she was under a lot of pressure to make sure that she's able to make a lot of money to build up retirement and support the child. So that is why the SMART framework is also relevant when we talk about property. And we cover this a lot as well in our property mentorship, because we even give you exactly how you're going to do that. And that's the amazing thing about it, right?
Somebody today is sitting with 100,000 here because they got a payout of some sort, right? But they've got debt, they've got credit card debt, they've got store cards, they've got all sorts of things. For you, maybe the step is to kill the credit card so that we can use that credit card credit more efficiently. We are going to use it for our property. That's the kind of actions we teach you. Somebody here is sitting with 200,000. They don't know how to property invest. Please don't go and buy an apartment, especially those ones where they say 5,000 deposit and you're going to get capital gain and equity. Just wait. Keep the 200,000 in a high earning investment plan, put it in easy equities and get yourself mentorship. Sometimes the action is not buying the property, actually. Sometimes the action is gaining the knowledge. Somebody may be sitting with 200,000 and there's an opportunity on the table and there is a student accommodation in Potchefstroom, right? And it costs us 6 million rand, but we do not have the transfer costs. You come in and you partner with us and we buy a student accommodation. Maybe that's your way of getting into property. Get into property, learn, associate with people that are in property investing. So sometimes the goal is not just to rush and buy the property because you might end up with the wrong thing. It is the building blocks and taking action. So that's what our goal setting is about. You set the goal, you plan how you're going to get there, you schedule the goal, already in October, I already knew when the next property is going to be bought. You schedule it, and that means your spending changes, even the stuff that you look at. I'd love some new jeans, can't buy new jeans because I've got a 6-month plan that end of March, something needs to happen, and this is the amount of money I'm going to require. So we teach you that framework even in the mentorship. And last month was January already. Last month we had an afternoon with Slindile because she's got personal goals with her family. I've got my personal goals with my family, but we've got joint goals as Kumo property investment mentorships. So we made a plan, including this webinar. It was planned just for you, just to have this conversation to say, these are the kind of questions we've been hearing from people. This is the panic that we've been hearing from our mentees from the previous cohort. Let's bring them to the real conversation. So everything takes goal planning, scheduling, and then taking some action. Hence, we are here.
The one thing that sets apart the doers from the wannabe is the action that you take.
Yeah.
Because you can say you want to buy a property. I hear so many people, Sli, I'm so interested in property. I want to invest in property, but are you viewing? Are you signing offers? are you putting tenants? It's still here in your head. Maybe because you are paralyzed by you don't have the right information and so you are scared of making mistakes, or you just don't realize what you already have and just how fortunate you are to be in that position. And there are so many of you that are in very fortunate positions. I'm not talking even just financially. It could be you've got access to people. Somebody's talking about a stokvel here. You may not have the money, but you've got access to people who have money. All you need to do is to do the work of finding the properties, and then you connect it with the people who've got money. Maybe you've got a lot of time on your hands. Maybe your job is very flexible or whatever the case might be. And you have time on your hand. You can go and find good opportunities and you can manage them. And then you can get people who qualify for loans and you guys can buy those properties together. So, but all of these things are sort of everywhere and you don't know what to do. You don't know where to start. So here's the thing. You can either stay like that and let another year go by, or you can actually start taking actionable steps to say, how do I put one foot in front of the other? How do I take this information that's sort of everywhere and put it into a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5? Because sometimes that's all we need. Because you've already got it. You've got everything that you need. You've got it. You just need to know, how do I put, and here's the thing about being part of the community, is that something that may be tripping you up and you're alone, you just speak to Miranda, like, "Hi man, let's do this." Even just this weekend, I'm gonna get the sidetrack because I always get sidetracked. Even this weekend, me and her went to go see a property, and we were just like, "Mara, what in the hell?" Like, because when a person is in a pickle, you can't even think.
Yeah.
You can't even think. And it's just like, but all you need is to do this, man. And this thing is solved. But that person has been in that situation for how many years now? 5 years plus. A simple thing that needs a simple solution. Mara, because you don't know and you don't have people that you can say, "Mara, what do I do here?" And then, you are stuck in a situation for years. So that is why the mentorship is here. And we're going to tell you guys about it shortly, because we want you guys to win. We want to win. We want the circle to be bigger. We want more black investors, guys. Let us be real. Our generation is fortunate, guys. Our parents, they had serious challenges and things that were working, against them. And against all odds, they still made a plan and they made it. Tina, we don't have excuse. We don't have an excuse. We don't. We've got access to knowledge. We've got access to people. We earn an income. Some of us are first generation graduates in our families. We've got access to things that our ancestors, they're in their wildest dreams. So why are we not taking advantage of that? Why are we not using it?
Let me tell you what we have. Half of us sitting here, you have got your mom's house and your grand's house that's paid up, that's not bonded. You already have equity, elokishini. Don't let them tell you about town and Sentin and Montana, right? We already have paid up ancestral houses. But what do? We fight over them instead of utilizing them to do it as step 1. You are sitting on money. Step 2, your grandmother built 2-room and garage, or they even had a mkuku, and there was an uncle that's been staying there for 20 years. You already are step 2. You've got a tenant. You are in property investing. You are a landlord who must stand. 3, you've got a pay slip. You already are a step closer. But what do you do with pay slip? You've opened accounts from Edgar's to Truett's, all the letters, right, of store cards. That's the first thing. Close those. Step 4, what do we have? Tina, we've got access to credit. Yeah, you can even open an account at Blue Bank and another bank and the Yellow Bank. Yeah. So we've got access to credit that our parents did not have. So here's your thing. How do you use the debt? Because there are other people who say, "Mina ngithanda isikweletu." Isikweletu says a property is how you build wealth. So there is good debt, there's bad debt. So the good debt is the one that gets you a big building that cash flows. Imagine being invested in Sentin. Sentin is always full, and it has got tenants. If you own 1% of Sentin, Sentin, by the way, is owned by several trusts and several groups of people. It's not owned by one person, right? And you keep getting your rent while you go to hospital or wherever you work. That is how you build wealth. And it is not these pie in the sky things that you think you have to have a property, a particular apartment. There are strategies in my thinking. I think I know of 9 strategies, and I've tried 3 out of the 9, because you don't go and do every strategy. Sli's doing Airbnb, you rush to it. Miranda has got a multi-let, you rush to the multi-let. You pick 1 or 2 and you stay with it. And my biggest one that has gotten me ahead is community. So co-investing with other people has helped me to learn other strategies while I sit and wait. All I do is just bring the cash, and I just sit and wait and watch and attend meetings, and then I know how to invest in that particular strategy. Sli is gonna take us through on how our mentorship is structured, and all of those questions on the side, we are not ignoring you, Bugiwe, Masiza. You are gonna hear about how we deal with it, because if I give you snippets of a strategy right now, you're not gonna know what to do with it. And I want you to have the full information.
So I think we've already mentioned why property specifically, right? And you know, sometimes some of these terms are just thrown about and they don't have the context and the background. And so what we've been sharing today are examples of what these are. Like, for example, passive income, right? So you'll hear the term passive income being thrown around, but you don't really know what it means. So passive income means that you are able to earn the income whether you do the job or not. So this is the income that works for you, right? Unlike a normal job where you go to work and then you know you're paid for your time, you're exchanging time for money. Passive income is the money that if you've got, for example, a property, that rental income, the tenant pays whether you do anything or not, right? And then building and growing generational wealth. This means that this is the income that sustains not only you, but future generations as well. And that is what property can do. You know, I recently did a transaction where, let me tell you, the sellers, their company was registered in 1958. People have been investing in companies since 1958. So can you imagine? So that is what is meant by generational wealth. The company was registered in 1958.
But
anyway,
Pick and Pay was registered when, guys?
Exactly.
Pick and Pay is
So
over
you start
100
now.
years. Yeah.
You start now. And financial freedom means that, here's the thing about financial freedom, that maybe the term gets thrown around, but it's not explained what financial freedom means. It doesn't mean that you don't work. It means that you get to do what you want when you want. You know, that freedom where, and at work, you're not bothered about petty politics anymore. You are there because you understand that you are there for the tool of the payslip and what that payslip is doing for you. But you are not dependent. It's not your lifeboat to go to, hey, if I lose my job, no, you never want to be in that situation, guys. You never want to be in a situation, as the saying goes, he who feeds you controls you. So if your boss feeds you, they will control you. So what financial freedom means is that you get to choose who or what controls you. You do what you want when you want. It's a choice, right? You do your job because you love it and you enjoy working with your colleagues, not because you have to. That is what you work towards. That's what financial freedom means. And then obviously retiring comfortably, which is something that is not spoken about in our communities, to be quite honest. It is something, even if when you look at retirement villages and these cruises with these old people, which images are they using?
Grey, white.
When just go and Google retire comfortably on Google and see
like people.
What are the images that come up. Who is retiring comfortably for? So this is the things that we are able to then start building towards, right? And e-property enables you to do that. So that is what the premise of the Kumo Wealth Academy is about, right? It's about addressing the challenges that is faced mostly by women and people of color when it comes to wealth creation. Because our challenges are unique to us, right? And we provide a structured approach to building, accumulating, and preserving wealth. Because, like we said, you can land on money, you can get lucky, win the lotto, win Betway, or whatever. But do you know how to preserve it? Do you know how to, so that money that you won, or that money, or even if you got money from your parents or whatever, that your grandchildren still benefit from the very same money? Because it's a skill to learn how to keep money and grow money. So that is why the Kumo Wealth Academy was started, right? So I think we've already touched on who we are. This is just a brief bio about ourselves, what we do, and obviously you're more than welcome to follow us on the socials. So what is the structure of the program, right? It's a group coaching program. It's online. We meet once a week to cover the content of the material. It's structured. I'll show you now exactly what those lessons look like. You also get access to tools and resources for professional investors. This is the things that become game changers for you and is not accessible to the general public. You don't even know that this kind of information is available. And you are laughing because of what happened during the mentorship program. Do you want to just speak about, with our first group, what happened when we unleashed some of these things at their disposal, right?
So there's a tool that we use that is accessible. Everybody in the world, in all 53 million of us in South Africa have got access to Lightstone. But no one knows how to use it, and because we all think it is the domain of the real estate agent. So on one of the lessons, we taught our mentees how to use the Lightstone and why the Lightstone is so important. It is an online tool, it's a GIS tool, and it maps all properties. By the end of the week after that, they had downloaded about 110 listings of properties. Now they have learned how to use it. But not only is it a tool for seeing where a house is, it tells you how to buy a house, how much to pay, not to overpay, and how other houses in that area have been sold. It is incredible because that tool is just there. You can access it yourself. But when you don't know how to use it to empower your property investment journey, then it just becomes a tool that an estate agent tells you about, and you think it is maybe a domain of other people.
Yeah. So it's not just that one, but we shared many other tools that once you know how to use them, listen, you are set for life. There is no way that you are ever going to buy a wrong property ever again. If you've bought them before. So what happened was, once we started teaching our mentees how to use these tools effectively, some of them had to go back and think about, I made a mistake here, I'm never gonna get out of this. And then even some of them even wanted therapy after that. They're like, we need to have a power team member who's a therapist here because it's a lot, So that's how we open up tools that are going to help you to be able to assess any situation when it comes to property. Not only that, we also provide access to our power team members. So what's a power team? A power team, so property is a team sport. You need people that you're not going to be an expert in everything. You need people around you that are going to help you navigate the property, from lawyers to accountants to town planners to property inspectors to contractors. There's many things that you need, and if you don't even know who to ask, sometimes you just don't even know who to ask. And so we've been in the industry now for quite a number of years, and we've got access to people that if you've got this challenge, speak to that person. It's sometimes, like I said, sometimes it's just you don't know who to ask. And through the people that are in our power team, we then enable our mentees to make sure that they're able to get the right people that are specialists in their field and have worked with investors specifically. So we're not talking about the general people that just help people buy properties for residential. This mentorship program is for people that want to invest in property. So now that we've had these insightful conversations and we want to be able to bring this to more people, right? So the best way to find out more about, the programs that we run, our workshops, we've got live events that we do, and we also have a mentorship program. Please subscribe to our mailing list. The list will be the link will be in the description below. And if you want to get more videos like these, we'll be sharing more over the next couple of weeks. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel and switch on the notification button.